What is up, YouTube? My name is XenoCloud and welcome to Tier List Tuesday, where today we're going to be ranking some 7 Deadly Sins characters, and this is completely biased, my own opinion. In next week's Tier List Tuesday, I'm going to be ranking them on power, but as of this ranking is all about just who I like. God tier. If you're in this one, then you're like more than my favorite. You know, you're like, not only are you my favorite, you're also like an absolute fucking boss. If you're in favorite, you're one of my favorite characters. You know, you're up there. I really enjoy watching you. When you're on screen, my eyes are peeled. If you're sick, then yeah, hell yeah, man. If you're on screen, hell yeah, even more. You're kind of like a backup to my favorite characters. You know, I enjoy seeing you too, somewhat. Meh, could do without you. Kind of meh. You know, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Boring, bro. If you're in boring, I'm sorry, but you're just, I'm not very intrigued. If you're in trash, bro, get off the show. Don't even come back. And if you're in forgot, I don't even know who you are, so the show probably would be better off without you. I'm just kidding, I don't mean that. There's so many characters in this show, it's hard to remember them all. You know, like I looked at some of these characters and, you know, like first guy, I don't know who that is. I know his name, I don't remember anything about him. So let's get right into this. Alright, first up, Arden, and just like I said just now, you know, I forgot who he is. I know he's one of the people with like Sir Death Pierce and their group, what are they called again? They're one of the Pleiades of the something sky, like, forgot. Next up, we got my man King Arthur, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, when he first showed up, I was expecting a little bit more than he gave, but I do enjoy seeing him. He's a pretty sick character. He's not quite one of my favorites, but he is quite a sick character. I enjoy seeing Arthur on the screen. Next up, we got Atola from the movie, and he was pretty meh, to be honest. You know, I kind of want to put him in boring even, but he had a pretty cool power, so I'd put him in meh. His overall design, though, I wasn't really a fan, and any fights he got in, they were short-lived. Next up, we got my man Bond, and you already know Bond is going straight to God tier. If you don't like Bond, what are you doing? Are you watching the show correctly? Bond is a sick character. Not only is he one of the most badass characters, he's also got a hell of a personality, and I enjoy seeing it on screen. He's got a really good backstory too, so definitely God tier character. Next up, we got King Bartra. Gonna be honest, he's a pretty boring character. Not quite trash, but he is pretty boring. He's got a sick power. You can see into the future. You can see the what's it called? You can see people's destinies. I don't know. He can see the future basically, but goddamn is he boring about it. There's going to be a battle. We have to prepare. That's pretty much the extent of his character development. Next up, we got Galland, and he was a pretty interesting character in the movie. I enjoyed seeing him. He's not meh, but he's not like sick. You know, if there was a category in between, he'd go in that. I think I'm gonna put him in the bottom of sick. He was a pretty sick character to watch. I gotta give it to him. You know, his character design was kind of iffy. He had a good backstory though. He wasn't picked for the 10 Commandments, and he got all mad about it and wanted revenge on Meliotis. Later finds out it is Meliotis that he's fighting. It's a pretty good arc in the movie. Next up, we got some blue demons, and goddamn are they boring. They're even more boring to watch than fucking King Bartra, because all they do is squawk and then they just die, you know. Maybe you'll see them carrying a human or two. They're just so easily defeated. Next up, we got Kane, and I can't really, you know, I want to put him in sick. He was a pretty cool dude, but like he's kind of a meh character. You know, we see him like barely in the show. I think I'd put him above Atola though, because I mean, he gave us a good backstory for Meliotis and Liz. You know, he told us what was going on. We got some more insight into what's going on with Meliotis. I enjoyed the arc with Kane in it. Next up, we got Meliotis, and he was one of the former 10 Commandments. I believe he got defeated. If my knowledge is correct, he was defeated by Meliotis. He was a pretty good demon, but overall, pretty meh. I can't really remember much about him. I think I would put him right here. Next up, we got Dahaka. And this dude was so boring. His fight was just not that interesting, you know. I'd put him above Bartra and the blue demons, but he was a pretty boring demon, to be honest. Next up, we got Sir Death Pierce. He was a pretty meh character in my opinion. Some of you might want to see him in sick. I think he was pretty sick for the most part, but if we saw him more, you know, he'd go in sick, but we don't really see him that much, so I feel like he's kind of meh. When he shows up on screen, I am like, hell yeah, but I don't see him enough, so I think I'd put him in meh. He's overall not that memorable. Next up, we got Deldry, and she's just another one of those characters that I don't really remember, and I mean, maybe you guys hate me for not remembering all the arcs. I've only watched the show once and the movie once, but I think she was pretty meh as well. I could be wrong, but from what I remember, she wasn't overall that interesting. Next up, we got Sir Denzel. He was pretty interesting, but goddamn did he make a mistake. He traded his life for Nerobusta to come and protect his people against the demons, and she pretty much ran off and then was defeated by Dariokio and then just complained. So he was pretty interesting. He made a good little sacrifice. I would put him right here in terms of interesting in the meh category. It's pretty interesting, not as interesting as Sir Death Pierce though. Next up we have Dariokio, and I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoy seeing Dariokio. She's got a pretty interesting story. I feel like she's very cold-hearted, and her and Monspeet's dynamic is very interesting to me. I very much so enjoyed watching her. She's not quite God tier, but definitely one of my favorite characters to watch as far as the 10 Commandments go. I really enjoyed her character development. Next up we got Dariokio or something. I call him the Lion Man because he looks like a lion. He was one of the 6 Knights of Black, just like Belion, and he was pretty interesting. I think I would put him maybe here, but he was defeated so quickly I didn't get to see him that much, so I think he's just another meh character. There's going to be a lot of characters in meh because there's just so many. Next up we got Diane, and some of you might be shocked about this, but I'm going to put her below Dariokio in my favorites because she is one of my favorite characters. I enjoy seeing her, but I don't know, Diane is so just high-pitched all the time. She's like, yee. She's just way too high-pitched for me. I can't, you know, her voice irritates the shit out of me sometimes. I'm sorry for all you Diane fanboys, fangirls, whatever you want to call yourselves, blah blah blah. She is a favorite character, but not quite as much as Dariokio. I do not know who this man is. I don't even know his name. I've searched everywhere on the internet. I could not find it. He's going right there. Next up we got Dreyfus, who is quite an interesting character in the first 2, maybe first 3 seasons. As far as the 4th season, I didn't really see much of him. He's kind of boring to watch, but I think I would probably put him maybe right about here in terms of, yeah, I think I would put him in, well, no, the first 2 seasons he was really good, you know, he was really interesting to watch, but I think I'll put him just below Belion. Next up we got Droll, and some of you might be surprised by this, but he was just not very interesting. I think he was pretty boring as far as the 10 Commandment goes anyways. He barely talked. He even tried to like keep Diane in his little like spell, him and Glock Cena doing that thing with King and Diane. And this man, he's just like, I don't know, I don't like him. He's going to boring though. Probably above this dude though. Next up we got Elaine, and she's a pretty sick character. I think I'd put her right here, to be honest. I enjoyed seeing her quite a bit. Not quite a favorite, but she is a rather interesting character as far as her and Bond's relationship goes. I've always enjoyed watching their dynamic. Next up we got Elizabeth, and I guess you could call this the human Elizabeth. Yeah, we'll call her human Elizabeth. She is she a favorite character? I don't know, because all she does is go Sir Meliotis and heals. I guess, you know, she's a main character for sure, but would I put her in favorites? I don't think so. I think I'd put her above Elaine. And for all you fanboys out there, I'm not ranking them in terms of how they're drawn, so like calm down, okay? This is based off personality and if I like them or not, and I think Elizabeth is a pretty interesting character. Next up, I don't know if you would say this is a lot from the movie or if you would say it's Elizabeth in her god form, because to be honest, it's hard to tell. And I think for the sake of the fact that Salat is not in here, I'm going to just say this is God Elizabeth, or Goddess, or Angel, whatever. And she was pretty interesting to watch. I found her character more interesting than human Elizabeth for sure. She was one of my favorites, maybe. Was she a favorite? I don't think she was a favorite, to be honest. I think she was pretty interesting though, and I would put her above King Arthur in sick. Next up we got another form of Elizabeth, and I believe this Elizabeth is from just a flashback Meliotis was having, maybe. Nonetheless, it isn't Elizabeth, so I guess we'll put her, you know, maybe in sick? I don't know, because she was just a flashback Elizabeth. I think we'll put her somewhere around here, probably above Atola. Next up, we got Eskanor, and this man is absolutely god tier for the sake of the fact that he is just so cool at noon. I mean, this man beat Meliotis at noon. You know, it's crazy. I never thought Meliotis would be beaten, you know, even though technically he is beaten quite often. In an overall battle, I did not think that Meliotis would lose to Eskanor. I thought Eskanor was just below his power level. But no, Eskanor proved me wrong, and I was like pretty hyped when I watched their fight. I was like, damn, it's finally going down between these two. I've been wondering about this for a while. Eskanor, pretty god tier. Not quite as interesting as Bond in my opinion, but definitely in the god tier for sure. Next up, we've got Esterosa, and this is one of my favorite characters so far, you guys. That's right, I really enjoy watching Esterosa. I think Esterosa is one of the more interesting Ten Commandments because of the fact that he is the middle child of the Demon King, and he is brothers with both Zeldris and Meliotis, two of the most powerful characters in the show. He is also pretty powerful. Hell, he killed Meliotis. I think he goes right here in favorite at the top so far. Next up, we got Fraudrin, and he was actually pretty interesting. I liked the connection he had with Dreyfus in the end, and I would definitely put him in sick. He was a sick demon to watch. As far as when he was in Dreyfus, he was pretty interesting, but when he actually he came out of Dreyfus's body and revealed his true form, I was like, oh shit, this man is huge, and he was pretty interesting to watch. Next up, we got Galland, and if you think about it, in the third season technically, in the third season, whenever he was going to fight everybody at once for the first time, he absolutely demolished our beloved 7 deadly sins. What he did, it shocked me. I was like, damn, how are they gonna beat 10 of these things if they couldn't even handle one? And I love how the show just, you know, continues to increase the power dynamics of all the characters. Galland was one of my favorites at first, but he was kind of annoying at the same time. And then as time went on, he sort of just became, he's a sick character. I think he's not quite as interesting as Arthur, though. I think he goes right here above Elizabeth, though. Next up, we have this, and I forgot her name as well. And that leads me to believe that she was pretty boring. Probably above Bartra, at least. Yeah, actually, I do remember her fights. Her fights were sort of interesting, more interesting than with this thing. But I don't even remember her name, so overall, she was kind of boring. Gearhide, I don't know, but she was also another boring character. She was in like the first season for a couple episodes. After that, not so much. Maybe she was in the second and third season. I can't remember which season it was, but overall, you know, it was kind of weird. She was trying to keep Bond by the tree, the Fountain of Youth tree, whatever. She was sort of I found it interesting that she was Glock Cena's brother. I did enjoy that bit of her story, but overall, pretty boring character. I think I'll put her right below Droll, though. Next up, we got my man Gill Thunder, and God, it's been a while since I've seen this man. I didn't see him in the movie, and I didn't even see him in the last season, you know, season 4. I don't even think I saw him in season 3, really. Or if I did, it wasn't much, and he wasn't fighting. In the first season, I would consider Gill Thunder to be one of my top favorites, but he is still a favorite, just not quite as much anymore. I think I would put him below Diane. I really am a fan of his powers. His powers are pretty sick. Next up, we've got Glock Cena, and I think this was definitely one of the more interesting characters. Definitely more interesting than Droll. I think I would put Glock Cena probably above Fraudrin, to be honest. And you know, as this tier list has gone on, I think Arthur actually belongs right here because I do enjoy seeing Arthur. Arthur's a pretty badass character, especially when he tried to go and fight the demons by himself in season 4. Next up, we got Gother the Goatson, and this man's character development has been great. I have enjoyed it. It is very fascinating to me. I think Gother belongs right about here below Dariokio. Some of you are probably like, that's ridiculous. I love Gother. Some of you are probably like, Gother belongs in the trash because of what he did to Diane. But as far as my personal opinion, which is what this video is about, and ranking them, I think he's one of my favorites. Not quite as much as Dariokio. Maybe, I don't know though. Because, like I said, Dariokio and Monspeet had a nice, like, character development. I don't know, just something about seeing characters go from, like, one side to the other. To me, that speaks, like, great character development. Because you're getting, like, reasons why they don't want to fight for that side anymore. You're getting a lot of depth into those characters. But we'll get to that later. Next up, we have an Albion Demon. And I'll be honest. Pretty meh. Probably like, I don't know, probably like bottom of meh. Grey Road. Grey Road was quite an interesting character. I'm gonna be honest, I did not remember all that much about Grey Road, but I think Grey Road was a pretty decent character. I think top of the meh tier, because while I enjoyed Grey Road's arc towards the end there before she died, we didn't see enough of her. I think if we saw more of her, she would have been in the sick category, in the sick tier, but I think pretty meh. I am assuming this is Griamore, and that's because this is in alphabetical order. Griamore was kind of interesting, but overall just another meh character. If you ask me, I think he belongs probably, actually honestly maybe above Kane, but yeah, nowhere near Gill Thunder. I know he was part of their trio, but Griamore was just, he was a kid. He turned into a kid. Gila was kind of interesting. I would put Gila probably right here above Griamore. Kind of the same situation as Griamore, though. We don't see much of her anymore. And when we did see her, she was like evil and she turned good, etc. She was pretty powerful and I enjoyed that about her, but as far as being a sick character, not quite. She's definitely sort of like a meh character. This guy is, what's your name? Gustav is Jericho's brother, and he gave her his power, and to be honest with you guys, he was pretty boring. Maybe not as boring as Gearheed, but yeah, pretty boring. Next up we've got Hawk, and to be honest, I have mixed emotions about Hawk. Sometimes I enjoy Hawk, sometimes I'm like, holy crap, you're so loud. I think Hawk goes in the sick category for sure because of what he did in season 1 to save our beloved team, our beloved 7 Deadly Sins, sacrificed himself and then was reborn, and I know that had you in tears. I know you was like, no, not my man Hawk. Oh my god, how is the pig gonna go out like this? I think Hawk was a pretty sick character. Not quite that sick though. I think more interesting than Elizabeth at least. Next up we got my man Helbram, and this was definitely an interesting character. Another one of those characters we haven't really seen much of lately because he sacrificed himself. I think Helbram belongs right next to Hawk, to be honest. Kind of just another one of those types of characters like, yeah, I enjoy them when they're on screen, but I'd prefer if one of these people were on the screen at the same time. Next up we have Hendrickson, and mixed emotions about this guy because, you know, first season he was a total douche, second season, third season, alright, not bad, Hendy. I would put him in the meh, though, to be honest. And if this was a season 1 tier list, he would be probably up in the sick at least, you know. As far as right now, though, we haven't really seen much of him. And in the first couple of seasons, he didn't really do enough to really stick with me as a good character. I think he's pretty meh. But actually, you know, now that I think about it, he did sort of do some good things. And in terms of season 1, he really performed. He was really interesting. I think I'd put him above Dreyfus at the very least, but other than that, still kind of a meh. Really, there should be a tier in between sick and meh. Just saying, like, I don't know, good, something like that. But these guys right here, maybe all these 3 actually right here would be in that category. Next up, we got my man Hauser, and I enjoy Hauser. I think he's not above Arthur though. I think he's probably right here. We don't really see much of Hauser anymore. And that's just how it is, you know. Like a lot of these characters, he was kind of left in the season 1, season 2, season 3 arc. There was a battle in season 4. I know, I saw him in that too. He just, I don't know. I enjoyed him more in the first season. I definitely enjoyed Gill Thunder and Hauser more in the first season than I did in any of the other seasons. But he's not quite as interesting as King Arthur. Next up we have Jericho, and to be honest, I was a fan of Jericho because of her journey with Bond and how she, despite her jealousy of Elaine, she still chose to save both Bond and Elaine. I thought that was pretty noble of her. I enjoyed her character development a lot, actually, and I think I would put her above Hauser, believe it or not. Next up, somebody who I do not remember, in the forgot. I think her name is Annie something? I don't know. I can't remember. I don't care. Next up, we got my man King. But is he my man? Because, to be honest, I'm not that much into King. I think King is alright. I think he's a decent character. Do I enjoy him? Sort of. Here's the thing about King. The things he'd be saying about Meliotis all the time, and some of the other things he'd be saying, and the fact that he's like simping for Diane all the time. Good lord, dude. I was so happy when Diane and King finally like kissed and, you know, got into a relationship and everything, I was like, finally, dude, holy shit, I've been waiting on this. But good lord, King, I think you're pretty cool, I think you're sick, you know, but you're not one of my favorites. You know, you belong probably even below here, I think, with Glock Cena. You belong with Glock Cena. Some of you are probably like hella mad. I know all you King fans out there are like, how are you gonna do my man like that? He belongs in God tier. But the fact is, he can be a badass, but he doesn't have nearly as many badass scenes, in my opinion at least, as like Bon or Eskanor. And then as far as these characters go, I think all of them are just a little bit more interesting and less constantly like, oh, Diane, oh my god, oh, I love you so much. He's pretty sick though. He's still a pretty sick character. Next up, I think her name is Veronica. No, oh my goodness, this is Liz. This is Liz, Meliotis' girlfriend before Elizabeth. The one right before Elizabeth. The one that caused him to go mad many times over. I think her story arc was pretty interesting, but not interesting enough to be in the sick category. I would put her right about here. Kind of mid-tier, above Griamore at the very least. Pretty meh character overall. Next up we have Ludociel, and of course I'm not really a big fan of him because of, well, I don't know, I think the show just made me think like, is Ludociel a good guy or a bad guy? I don't know. His character development has certainly been interesting. I think he's got some hidden rage in him. I don't know. I guess I haven't really seen enough to make a solid decision, and because of that, I think he belongs somewhere around here. Maybe below Gila though, but above Liz. This is Male, who I have never seen because I can't remember who killed him, but someone did kill him. I think it might have been Bon. Someone killed this guy. I think it was a human. I'm pretty sure it was Bon. Since we haven't really seen him, I guess I'm obligated to put him into, I guess you could say forgot technically, but I didn't forget him, so I'll put him at the top. We've never seen him. So next up we got Hawk's mom, who I also enjoy, kind of. I think Hawk's mom is, some of y'all might be mad about this because Hawk's mom is a pretty lit character, you know what I mean? When I see Hawk's mom, I'm like, all right, we're chilling, you know, we're getting drunk on the pig while we're off to our next mission. Hell yeah, you know. And she carries the tavern, and she's just overall a pretty decent pig. But I don't know, I think it's pretty meh sometimes when they're just walking. You know, I think when she's on screen, not too much action is happening. I think overall Hawk's mom gets right about here with Ludociel, maybe above, yeah, I'd say at least above those characters, not above Grey Robe though. Next up we have Margaret, who is in love with Gill Thunder and vice versa. Margaret is a pretty meh character, you know. She kind of goes right about, honestly, right about here, you know, in terms of, yeah, I don't know. This is about personality. This is about the character themselves, not their looks. Don't get mad at me, fanboys. I think she's a pretty overall decent character, but do we see enough of her? No. And for that reason, I think she belongs right about here. Next up is Matrona from the Giant arc with our girl Diane. Matrona was a pretty interesting character, I guess. As far as her finally coming around to the humans, I enjoyed that part of her story. But other than that, didn't she send that one giant off to her death? Kind of fucked up, Matrona. I think you're gonna go into the meh, and I think you're gonna go below Kane. Next up we have Molaskila, who is quite an interesting character in my opinion. Do we put her up here in a favorite? I don't know if Molaskila is one of my favorites. Because she was so active in the beginning of the fights, you know, I think she got a lot of screen time, and that's why I kind of want to put her in favorite. But I don't know, because really, is she better than King Arthur and Jericho? Even Hauser, is she better than King? I know y'all will be enraged if I put her above King. I think I'm gonna have to do it though. I think she's one of my favorites, just not quite as much of a favorite as Gill Thunder. I think she's below Gill Thunder. She definitely was a pretty interesting character though, so I think I'll put her in favorite. Next up we got my man Meliotis, and easy decision, God tier. I love seeing Meliotis on screen. I love his personality. He's so chill all the time, no matter what situation he's in. Very few times do we see him angry. Hell, in season 1, you get a flashback to Bond being like, "I've never seen you angry, Captain." Meliotis is just, he's a great character, in my opinion. One of my favorite anime characters, in fact, like of all time. Easily a god tier character. I really enjoy Meliotis. Next up, we got my girl Merlin, and she is also god tier. I really enjoy Merlin. I think the fact that she's a mage is super fucking cool, and the fact that she's always got the team's back. She is a god tier character. Where does she go though? I think she goes above Eskanor because she's always got such a cool personality going on. Whereas Eskanor, you know, half the time he's sick like that, and then, you know, nighttime he's just, "Oh, hello Merlin." That's him to a T. But Merlin is definitely a god tier character. I really enjoy her magic and what she can do. Her power level is pretty insane. I mean, a lot of these guys' power levels are pretty insane, but Merlin has like a unique power level in my opinion because of the things she can do. That perfect cube shit is pretty cool. God tier. Next up is Monspeet, who is another one of my favorite in the 10 Commandments. He goes right here next to Dariokio, and he is one of my favorites for sure. I really enjoyed Monspeet and Dariokio's arc very much. I thought their final battle with Esterosa was just like super sad. But the fact that they both went into Endura form as well, and this is what I've been waiting to tell you guys, for those of you that are like, "What, Dariokio favorite? You're probably just a fanboy, etc." No. The fact that these two went into Endura mode in the one arc, you know, the one where they're like 3,000 years ago, in that arc where they went to, you know, the 3,000 years ago past, where King and Diane did anyways, seeing Monspeet and Dariokio in that form, I was just like, whoa, these guys are like serious, you know? We all know why Monspeet would have went into Endura form with Dariokio. And you know what? I don't blame him. Good for you guys. They had a sad ending. They had a really sad ending. I was rooting for them. They just had a sad ending, man. Next up, we got Nadja, and I actually was a huge Nadja fan because of her arc with Gother and the fact that she sort of like helped Gother, you know, kind of like, I don't know, just learn to be and begin his journey back into the real world. I enjoyed Nadja. She wasn't quite a sick character, but she was a pretty interesting character to say the least. I think she was pretty meh, right above Hawk's mom. Next up, we have Gother, the original, who I enjoyed fairly. I think he belongs right about here. Some of you are probably like, really? Yes, really. I think Gother was an interesting character for sure, but was he like super interesting, and did we see enough of him? Not quite enough. Apparently, he sealed the demons away 3,000 years ago. Apparently, he did something. Pretty sick character. Pretty sick character. Next up, we got Pump, and I'm gonna pump him right to the back of boring because he was boring. He was just another one of those 6 Knights of Black that died very quickly. Next up, we have a Red Demon, and the Red Demon goes right about here, to be honest. I know y'all are probably like, what? How's it so far away from the Albions? They're basically the same thing. Yeah, but at least the Albions, you know, when an Albion first shows up, we get like a oh shit moment, you know, at the fairy. It was at the fairy forest and Albion was there, and they're like, oh no, you know. The Red Demons have always sort of been like, you know. When we first see it, when Bond and Elaine are fighting it, that was pretty interesting, but otherwise, not too much. Next up, we got like the human form of Bond, I guess, or like, I don't know, the before form. I don't know what to call it. All I know is another one of those characters that was in the 3,000 years ago arc. Pretty interesting. Overall, pretty meh. I think I'd put him right about, he was pretty interesting. Him and Gearheed's, like, their like situation was pretty interesting to watch. I enjoyed their conversation. I think I'd put him, honestly, that's tough. I'd put him right about there. Next up is Sarmia. I'm pretty sure this is the one that is called Sarmia. I think Sarmia was pretty interesting. I think he was sort of sick, but I think mostly kind of a meh character, if I'm being honest. We haven't seen enough of these guys yet. That's what I'm trying to say here. There's just so many characters, you know? Next up, we got this guy, and I don't know who he is. Another forgotten character. I'm sorry. Don't hate me. Next up is Slater. Slater was pretty meh. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. First season, pretty interesting. Rest of the time, kind of meh. And he will go right about here. I'm assuming this is the supreme deity, which we have not seen yet, so I think I would put that right about there. In boring. Actually, honestly, you know what? Just another, yeah, we haven't seen it yet. Or maybe we have and I'm just blind. Tarmiel, at least he has 3 heads, I guess, so he goes above Sarmiel. But yeah, just another one of those angels that we haven't really seen enough of yet. At least they're above Sir Loduciel. Next up, it is Veronica, who in the first season was interesting, but other than that, not so much. Right there. Next up, we got Vivian, who has her own special tier dedicated to her, the trash tier. This is where Vivian belongs because she is indeed trash. Next up, we have Zeldris, and he will be the final person attending the God tier list because I get so hyped when I see Zeldris on screen. Haven't even seen him yet. I just know. Look at this man's aura. I just know he's about to mess shit up. You know what I mean? Like, he's about to be so cool in season 5. Season 4, I was already pretty hyped watching him, more than I was for Esterosa. But that is the full tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe you would agree with some of my decisions. Maybe you hate me right now. That's totally fine. But I want to thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And let me know down in the comment section below if I did right or if I did wrong. If you enjoyed this list, definitely subscribe because there's another one coming next Tuesday. Just like there is every Tuesday, because Tuesdays are tier list Tuesdays. Got a bunch of anime friends? Why not share it with them? And have a great day.